I can't believe I edited a whole second video. This is crazy. Hi, my name is Jasmine. I am a romance fantasy author, writer, on a journey to republish my first book. That's gonna be a whole other story for another video, but today, in this one, my second video, I'm so happy. Today, I wanted to share with you 5 facts about me as an author because I want my audience to get to know me as a person before you dive into my fantasy romance series. Because I feel like today we are investing a lot of time and energy into all these books and their series, and only to discover that as a person, I can't align myself with the author, and it's really disappointing because I may have grown up with their books may always have a place in my heart, but I can't find myself supporting that author anymore, and it's just really heartbreaking. I want to try something different. I want my audience to get to know me as a person before you even start reading my first book. Because this book and this series is essentially going to be an extension of myself. It's going to be an extension of my trauma, and it's going to be a story with bits and pieces of myself scattered throughout the entire series, and I want to share that with you. But I also don't want to disappoint you. So to dive in, fact number 1 is I love video games. When I was a kid, I grew up playing the Nintendo Game Boy Color, the purple one, I remember, and my favorite game to play on it was Pokemon Crystal version. It was my very first Pokemon game. I was watching Pokemon on VHS at the same time while playing the video games, and I just remember it being so much fun. I loved it so much, and that's where my love for video games began. After that, I remember my mom, she gifted me a Nintendo GameCube. I remember playing Pokemon Coliseum. And if I remember this game correctly, it was a little bit different than the traditional Pokemon games on the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. This one, you could capture other people's Pokemon, and if they had like a dark heart or a shadowy heart, correct me if I'm wrong, you could bond with the Pokemon by keeping them in your party and battling with them to cure their heart. I thought that was really cool. I replayed this game so many times as a kid. Another game I remember playing is SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, and this game has such a special place in my heart, mostly because it's attached to a core memory of mine when I was a kid. While I was playing the game, I actually received news from my mom that my dad had passed away. While visiting his family in Honduras, he passed away from a heart attack, and he died on the way to the hospital. And when I received the news, I didn't immediately cry. It took me a while to process exactly what had happened because at the time I was about 7 or 8 years old. So after getting the news, I immediately went back to playing SpongeBob SquarePants, and then I started crying. But even as an adult, I am still into video games. I have absolutely no shame to admit that. I did switch from console to PC games, and the game I'm currently playing and am totally in love with is Final Fantasy XIV. And if you haven't played any of the Final Fantasy games, I highly recommend playing any of the Final Fantasy games because they're so much fun. But I'm currently playing Final Fantasy XIV. It's an MMORPG game, and it's just so fun. And reason why I'm mentioning is because Final Fantasy XIV is actually a huge inspiration for my fantasy romance series right now. But now that I think of it, I really do hope that it's not too overwhelming. But again, I promise to explain more about my book in the next video. There's gonna be a next video. Fact number 2 about myself is the inspiration that got me back into writing. Let me explain. As a kid, I actually grew up writing fanfic, short stories, and I even attempted at creating my own manga. I was really creative as a kid, but unfortunately when I entered high school, that is mostly when I stopped reading, I stopped writing, I stopped drawing, and I even stopped playing video games for a while. I don't know, high school was just this bubble of like zero creativity for some reason. But specifically for writing, it's actually pretty heartbreaking when I think back on how my best friend at that time discouraged me from writing. And it's all because of one stupid essay for English class. I'm so disappointed at my past self for letting that happen, but it did happen. And for many years after that, I did not write. And it wasn't until, please don't hate me for saying this, but it wasn't until I read Sarah J. Maas. It wasn't until I read Throne of Glass that I devoured that book. I loved it so much. It inspired me to get back into writing. And although I do have my issues with her, it was her series, it was her books that got me back into writing, and it's the reason why I'm working on my own fantasy romance series today. Fact number 3 about me is I love music. I love most type of music. I love K-pop. I like pop. I love alternative music, rock music, a little bit of metal, and of course Hispanic music, specifically urban reggaeton music. And at this moment, I've been very much into Sleep Token. I am talking about, I listen to Sleep Token every single day, ever since I discovered them. My very first song from Sleep Token that I discovered on YouTube is Alkaline. That did it for me. If you have not listened to Sleep Token, if you don't know who they are, stop watching my video, go onto YouTube, look up Sleep Token, and get ready to have your world rocked. They're just amazing. And while I'm writing or editing my 10th draft, I always need to have music playing in the background. I can't do silence. Like if I'm writing and it's completely silent and I hear a bird chirping outside, it will irritate me. I always need something playing in the background, whether it's classical music, alternative rock, Sleep Token, or even reggaeton music, whatever I'm in the mood for, depending on the scene that I'm writing or editing, music will always be playing. And did I include this fact just so that I can talk about Sleep Token? Yes, I did. No shame. Fact number 4 about me is I love food. If you haven't noticed, this chubbiness, also no shame. Food is another big inspiration for my book because I believe it's a great way to describe a character's culture, and I think it's something that many books lack. In some fantasy books, I feel like the author doesn't really dive deep into a character's culture. They mostly just describe the character by their skin color, their hair type, their eye color, and maybe they speak another language, but that's about it. I feel like I need something more than just their skin color to differentiate the character's background. And I may just have really shitty taste in books because I've yet to find that in the most popular fantasy romance books. So if you have any recommendations for me where an author truly does put in effort to describe a character's culture and background, please drop them in the comments. And speaking of food, I thought it was only fair to share a few of my favorite dishes. And I really hope it doesn't sound too random. My favorite food is eggs. I can eat eggs every single day of my life and never get tired of them. Sunny side up, fried, poached, boiled, scrambled. I can have eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and as an appetizer and dessert. But enough about food. I want to share with you the 5th and final fact about me. And it's not really a fact. I wanted to share my creative space with you. It's mostly just a notebook, another notebook, my pencil case, which just wanted to show you because I think it's really, really cute. It's a little bigger. This is technically my first book, which I'm currently editing right now. I think I'm on draft 4 or 5. And I will explain more about this in another video. This is my keyboard. So my keyboard isn't anything fancy. As you can see, these specific keys right here are very used, but it's nothing fancy. I got this keyboard at Dave & Buster's, but it does light up, you know. I can change the color of the lights if I want to. What I did invest on is my mouse. So this is the Lenovo G502. I consider this a gaming mouse because it has so many buttons for you to assign specific functions on. This is, it's not that great. I do draw. I'm not great at it. I am working on it. And this is the baby. I don't know if you can see him too well, but there's Tanjiro just chilling inside the computer, you know. And these are some figures that I got from Japan. Of course, I have Nezuko and Hatsune Miku. She looks so cute. And these are just some little figures I got from Dave & Buster's. And this was a gift from my mom. And there's Snorlax just chilling in the back and my speaker. We made it to the end of my second video. If you made it to the end as well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to keep going on this writing journey. If you plan to stick around, please subscribe, like, press all the buttons to join me on my journey, and I would so much appreciate it. Thank you. It's so crazy that I'm writing a whole series. Oh, got the hiccups from excitement.